Just to start with, honored to be asked by Governor Cuomo to serve as an advisor in the Finger Lakes region for reopening New York. I've had the honor of working with Governor Cuomo for 4 years in his first term. And the first thing I can tell you is that this is about gathering facts and data and coming back to the governor with the best information possible. The governor does not make decisions on good intentions. He wants to know the facts, the data, and I look forward to this. It's a great opportunity. Given my previous role with the governor and given my current role with the regional council, I think we have a built-in spirit of teamwork in this 9-county region. And so just learning about this today, my number one goal is to go out to listen. When I say go out, via Zoom meetings, of course, listen, ask questions, gather data, gather information, and look at what are the best ways to reopen this economy safely and in a way that really protects people's public health. And just left a video conference with Dr. Mike Mendoza a few minutes ago. We'll be working very closely with public health leaders, elected officials, business leaders throughout the 9-county region, and everybody, just to gather input and hopefully go forward and make the best recommendations that I can to the governor. But honored to be asked to do this. It's a pleasure to be involved with it and look forward to the challenge. Happy to take questions.
Hey, Bob, it's Randy Gortman. How are you?
Randy, how are you?
Good. I guess I asked the obvious question. I know you and I just talked yesterday about this in general terms, but for someone from the outside who would be looking at, it's true you were former lieutenant governor, but you're also representing business interests, and I know a lot of them, especially small business, very anxious to get things going again. How do you balance that if people say, well, you know, Bob Duffy's going to have kind of a bent toward wanting to reopen stuff, even though obviously I know you and everybody else also has these public health concerns. How do you reconcile that?
We reconcile it basically with data and information. And I think we all have to realize we're in a whole different landscape moving forward. So it is about what can we do safely? How do we protect people? There is no way the entire economy can reopen in a week or even a month. I think there has to be a segmentation, and there has to be certain principles and certain practices put into place. But it is imperative that we start the process to get back. And I applaud Governor Cuomo for recognizing that upstate, while we are all one state, we are a very different region, different economically, but also in terms of density. So there are really going to be opportunities for us to make recommendations which might be more palatable than to do something in a much more highly dense area. And again, we cover 9 counties. And the one thing I realize is that we're in a season right now where the livelihood of many families depends on whether they can work or not and reopen their business. That is critically important, but it has to be balanced with the public health issue. And we do not want to raise the infection rate. We don't want to lose any more lives. We don't want to end up going backwards and regressing with this battle with the coronavirus. So it is a balance. And I don't have decision-making authority. It is about recommending decisions to the governor. I'll go back. The governor is a friend and a colleague. I understand the way he thinks. I have enormous respect for him. He is all about data and facts, and that's how he makes decisions. So that has to be our path going forward, having that balance of economics and public health. And that's the only way we can be successful moving ahead.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, Bob. Jen Lukey here with News 10 NBC. I'm wondering, I was at the governor's press conference this afternoon, and he wasn't real specific about a timeline. I'm wondering, who will you consult aside from our local medical community about this? And have you been given any specific instructions as far as how quickly you should have those meetings?
Well, if you know the governor, he operates at one speed. That's full speed. That's the way he's always been. So I was not given any instructions as to a timeline, but I take that once the announcement was made, the timeline starts. So we're laying groundwork today to start setting up meetings, and like we're doing right now, it'll be done remotely. We're going to practice the same health practices that we expect everybody to do. I have a call this afternoon with Vinny Esposito from Empire State Development. Vinny's a partner of mine with the Regional Council. And my other co-chair, President Denise Battles from SUNY Geneseo. We'll have a conversation, and we're going to look at really a broad information gathering process here. It's small, medium, and large business. It's public health. It's business leaders, elected officials. We want to listen to people, get their concerns, and these decisions cannot be done emotionally. They must be done by data, and especially with the public health concerns. So it's going to be a wide spectrum. We'll have a lot of meetings like we're having right now, where we'll have a couple hundred people on a phone call, and we'll ask questions and listen and take notes. But my expectation is this job starts today. It starts this evening, and we're not going to wait at all. It is imperative that we get the economy back on track, but also preserve public health.
Thanks.
Hey, Bob, it's Andrew with 13 WHAM. I wanted to ask about what are some of those businesses that you think have a better chance of maybe reopening sooner than others? I know yesterday you spoke about construction, jobs like that. Are there some you're already eyeing that maybe on May 15th could potentially begin to reopen, or are there everything on the table right now?
Well, at this point, I don't have any preconceived notions, but I mean, my basic premise would be looking at density, number one. I talked yesterday about construction. Construction, house painting, there's a lot of things can be done where you are 6, 8, 20, 40 feet apart. You can wear masks. There are ways that you can protect yourself. Getting into a close environment, highly dense environment, that's going to be difficult. So we have to look at how can we do it safely. There are stores right now who limit the number of customers who can come in. Grocery stores, essential businesses are doing certain things now. If you go to a grocery store, you wear a mask, you wear gloves. There are certain protections you have to really put in place. So we're going to balance the opportunity to do it safely and do it with hopefully the support of public health and medical officials, something that we could recommend that would be helpful. But I don't think anybody should expect on May 15th, we're back to normal a few months ago. That is not going to happen. We're going to be in this mode for many months, if not a year or so to come. This virus does not get up and leave on May 15th or June 1st. It is here, and we don't want the infection rates to go up. But I do think that the governor's decision today, his announcement reinforces he is very common sense driven. He very much understands the economy, especially upstate. And I chafe at criticism sometimes because his investments up here have been profound. He understands our economy. It is different than a downstate economy. It is important. And the men and women who are out of work right now, who can't reopen their businesses, whose families and livelihoods depend on this, that is critically important, and a clock is ticking. But again, I'll say it's going to have to be balanced by the issue of public health and how we make decisions. How can we not impact the growth of the infection? So, and listen, one of the things I've learned in my life is I listen to people. Surround yourself with people who are very bright, who really have grasp of the data. Listen, ask questions, ask a lot of questions, and then present the very best recommendations I can to Governor Cuomo. And that is my intention. And I do not put a time frame. If I can get recommendations to him in a matter of days, I will do that. But I want to make sure whatever I provide him, it is ground in data and is the best information I can provide. And I will say, I'm getting calls already and emails, and my team is, where the response has been phenomenal from leaders really around this region who want to be involved. I'm not going to mention their names, but they're not really pushing for their own business. They want to just have a say and maybe be able to weigh in, which I think is a great thing. And so nobody's going to be left behind. I get asked questions constantly. We're going to listen, learn, but again, go back to the data. And Dr. Mendoza and his colleagues around this whole 9-county region are going to be critically important for us as we go through and vet some of these opportunities to reopen businesses.
Thanks, Bob.
Got about 4 minutes left for questions.
I see a call here.
Anna Carter with Rochester Business Journal. May I ask a question of Mr. Duffy?
Yes, go ahead.
So I was just in on that call with Dr. Mendoza, and I thought his message was we actually do want more people to get infected, but in a very controlled way so that we can build herd immunity, at least until we get a vaccine, which will probably take longer than the end of the year. So that's a really complicated message to get across to the public, and especially to businesses as they're trying to reopen. How will we do that? How will you do that to help businesses open, understanding some of their people are going to get infected? Probably the majority of those being affected won't actually get sick or very sick, but they still need to deal with that as they're reopening.
Well, Dr. Mendoza did mention that today. I'll defer to medical questions to the doctor in terms of why he would want to see that happen. Our job would be to look for ways that we could reopen businesses and really limit exposure and limit infection growth going forward. That would be the most helpful to us. But I do understand why he said that, and he's looking at the long-term medical implications here. I'm looking at more how do we get the economy back running, but not risk losing more lives, having more people hospitalized or being impacted by this. And I do believe, and you're right, that the vaccine is going to be a ways off. This is not going to be a quick process for a vaccine. We've seen so many times in the past, sometimes years and years before one is actually accomplishes what we want. But a lot of smart people are working on that. And I would say at the very earliest, probably sometime in 2021 before you have something that really can be verified.
Only a couple minutes left. Tia Collins from Channel 8 has a question.
Congratulations, Mr. Duffy, on your appointment. I wanted to ask how that these new regional teams will help allocating resources around our state for the areas that need them most.
I think what I understand from the governor's announcement today in my conversation was that I'll be making recommendations based on the economic revival and reopening. In terms of resources, that has not come up yet. I think our goal right now is to really embark upon a path that really won't take up resources other than time. I think the big thing for me is to listen, to understand, to ask questions, and to really get some great minds together and come up with a plan how best to reopen. And I'm not talking about just the hub of the city of Rochester. This is a 9-county region. So every county has to be involved. Every county has to have input. And from our big corporations down to our 1 or 2 mom and pop shops, they are all important. They all benefit our economy. So listening to that. In terms of resources, I will defer to our state and federal leaders to make those decisions. The governor's not asked for any recommendations, at least for me, on that. But what he has asked for is our best recommendations to how do we get the economy back safely and at a pace that does not end up adding to the infection rate. So this is new today. It was announced just at midday today, so it's all new. The governor, I think, at this moment is at the White House, so he is on the road, and I'm sure I'll have some catch-up conversations with he or his team in the next 24 to 48 hours. But I'm honored to do this. I'm really, when I was asked, it took me like 1 second to say yes and agree to it, and just to be a part of this team to get this economy back running. All of us here on this call, you listen and you hear the plight of businesses every day. People who are out of work, people who are laid off, the unemployment lines are huge. And so getting it back on track is important, but it's not going to go quickly. It's not going to happen in a matter of a week or 2 weeks. It's going to happen methodically. How it happens, that's not my decision. It may be segmented. It may be small building up. It won't be widespread across the board. But going back to my original points, I think it has to be examined in terms of density and opportunities to do it safely. I would expect there will be a lot of rules and restrictions for businesses that are opening up going forward. They'll have to abide by. And I applaud